Welcome to O State Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Fans, today we have a very, very, very special guest, a lifetime friend. He's like family to me. The whole entire Holt family is like family to me. Rex Holt, play-by-play for wrestling, who, by the way, got to call a very exciting match last night. Play-by-play for baseball for over 40 years. Joins O State Daily. Rex, how in the heck are you, man?
Doing well, Case. For a man my age, I'm holding up okay, pal.
Yeah, and you figured out the Google Meets thing. I'm so proud of you, Rex.
Well, so far, let's cross our fingers and hope for the best.
Okay, I'll tell you what else has gotten figured out is the Oklahoma State wrestling program. Of course, John Smith, absolute legend, going all the way back to Del City High School. Matter of fact, I talked to Paul Duran, who was a linebacker in the early 2000s. From Del City, he went on and on about how much the Smiths mean in that community of Del City. So first of all, would be remiss if we did not start with John Smith and that entire family.
Well, yeah, no doubt. I mean, well, you know, they're the first family of wrestling. There's no doubt about it when you just look at the contributions all the way up and down and even in, of course, to Chris Perry and Mark Perry and their national championships, the grandsons that sprung off that tree from Leroy Sr. and, of course, Pat, the first four-timer, and all of those things, and now it seems kind of commonplace, some of these things. And, of course, Kel Sanderson, undefeated four-time champ, and some of those people that came along after. But the first one was Pat Smith. John was the first real superstar. I mean, Dan Gable back in the day, give him his due. But John kind of became a rock star during his era. And it's kind of ironic that once he decided, well, he kind of had enough of that and moved on, you get another rock star in David Taylor just to slide right into those big shoes. And, boy, I tell you what, he's taken the ground, hit the ground running, and it's been a smooth transition. But, yeah, this whole thing, I began with Tommy Chesbro back in the day, and, of course, worked with Joe C., and he won a couple of national titles in his own right. But, yeah, to work with the legend John Smith for 33 years, and John just had enough. He was ready to move on, and so be it. He'd earned that right. And like I said, the Cowboys, Chad Weiberg and company did a great job of finding his replacement, and so far, so good, Case. Knock on wood. The Cowboy program seems about as solid and consistent as it's been in many, many years.
They ready to compete against Penn State, you think? Ready to make a run at them?
Well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think they're ready to compete against them. There's no doubt. And Iowa. Those are the 1 and 2 teams in the nation. The Cowboys are right behind them. Again, the only thing, those two schools, maybe a little, just from 1 through 10, maybe a little more, a little more firepower in a couple of spots where the Cowboys are not quite 1 through 10. But the Cowboys, again, they are consistent. The lineup they put out, it's a darn good lineup. I mean, that's solid 1 through 10, and about everybody's ranked, and every guy, of course, placing at the Las Vegas tournament. That tells you they are a solid lineup. Would they like to be a little stronger in a couple of weights? They would need to be in order maybe to challenge Penn State or Iowa this year. But again, if somebody gets an injury, something happens, you get a break, the Cowboys will be right there ready to pounce. I fully believe that. At least the track they're on right now says that they're right now the third best team in the country for sure, and nothing says they can't continue to progress up the ladder.
So is this a better dual team or is this a better tournament team? Can you kind of explain the difference between those two?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, there is a difference. And the tournament teams are the guys that, the big point getters are going to lead the way for you. And again, Penn State has more of those. Those guys are going to go out, get to the finals, score bonus points, all those things. The more of those you have, the better you off in a duel. I'm just going to, in a tournament situation. In a duel,
so it's more about the firepower in a tournament.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Those top guys that are going to get to the finals and win championships, and again, they're going to pin people and get tech falls along the way to get you all those bonus points. Those, again, Iowa has maybe had an extra 1 or 2, or Penn State's got an extra 2 or 3 that the Cowboys don't have as far as those big point getters. But you get in the dual situation. Now you got a mano. Maybe you got a guy that's ranked 4th, and they got a guy ranked number 1. It's wrestling. It's sports. Maybe they make a mistake. Maybe you wind up with a fall. Maybe you upset somebody. And in a dual situation, you got a chance to go, like I say, upset somebody, probably more so. The tournament's over the long haul over 3 days. Usually the cream's going to rise to the top. And you got to have those big guys, those big point getters, and more of them than everybody else. And so, yeah, it's a little different power structure, no doubt, when you're talking tournament championships and dual championships and things of that nature. They're a little different. But like I say, the cream is, over the course of 3 days at the national tournament, the cream will rise to the top. And those teams with all those major point getters and guys are going to finish in the top 3 or 4, or the top, be All-Americans all the way up and down, whatever the case may be, and can score bonus points. Those are the teams that, excuse me, I'm battling the crowd, will usually get it, will come out on top. But dual-wise, it levels the playing field a little bit for maybe a lesser team to knock off a more powerful team, but usually not in a tournament situation.
So which one would you say, like programs like Oklahoma State, Penn State, Iowa, which one do they concentrate on heavier, winning the duels or being a better tournament team? Or
I don't think there's any question.
The
yeah, there's no question that Penn State, once they got the formula, they have stuck with it. Now, a lot of years they were just better than everybody else. You know, you can talk about Cale Sanderson and the program and this, but they got all the best recruits. They had more studs all the way up and down their lineup. So you got the best wrestlers, you probably should win. And they did. Give them credit for that. But, you know, a lot of those guys used to be dispersed throughout the country. And OSU had their share of some of those superstar guys there. For a while, it just seemed like Penn State, yeah, one might go to Ohio State. OSU might get one. But majority of those guys were kind of congregating there at State College, PA. And again, when you got the best talent, if they don't screw it up, they're probably going to go win it. And again, Cale's a heck of a coach, and I'm not going to take anything away from them. They're the gold standard right now, and they will continue to be. They're not going anywhere. It's up to you to get better to close the gap with them. Right. Because they're not going to really come back to the pack. And I was Good right point. There. I think OSU's got a chance. Again, and they had a chance last year, really. You go back and look at that duel. Yeah, it didn't work out. But a couple of matches that were, 1 point overtime type matches, if those go in favor of the Cowboys, who knows what happens there. So I think the gap between OSU and Iowa is not the gap that you see between maybe OSU and Penn State. But OSU and Iowa, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference between those two teams as far as all the way up and down the lineup and the potential this year. But everybody's still chasing the Nittany Lions, no doubt about that.
Yep. So the roster this year for Oklahoma State, you mentioned you have to have the All-Americans, the wrestlers at the top with the firepower to get pins, to get bonus points, that kind of thing, to win the national titles. Who are those guys that are most likely on the OSU roster this year?
Well, of course, we got some transfers, and David Taylor attracts that. We've already seen with the announcement of his first recruiting class, those early signees, including a kid right here in Stillwater, Oklahoma, who may be the best wrestler in the nation. They got D. Lockett locked in, but they got number 2 or 3, wherever you want to rank him, and number 5 and number 6. So, yeah, they're luring David Taylor in his name and his cachet. It's definitely brought the spotlight back to Stillwater with some of these highly talented recruits. And it also did the same for some transfers. So you already had Dustin Plott there. You already had, again, you had some guys returning like Troy Spratley at 125 and Tegan Jamison at 141. Those guys you felt like, and they did have great years last year. Probably should have finished stronger than they did. They did not have good national tournaments, which was why OSU probably was a top 3 or 4 team a year ago, but a couple of guys just hit the wall in the Nationals, and they wound up 10th place or whatever. So Cowboys could have been finished much better last year, but you see, again, the guys that you knew of, though, Plott, who made it to the finals, and again, those guys like Spratley and those guys you knew that they were going to step up their game. And then you had, like I said, and then you get the transfers coming in here. Well, Luke Serber came back. Yeah. Luke's wrestling better than he's ever wrestled his whole career. Right now, the start of this season, he's come out of the gate strong and had another huge win last night. But if you see the emergence of a Spratley, and then you see, again, Tegan Jamison making a move. And then you see Plott. He's going to do what he does. He's going to be an All-American. And then you add to it Cameron Amin, who came in from Michigan, 3-time All-American. He slides right into your lineup. You know, when you first saw it, hey, we got 365-pounders coming to town. But now you look up, Caleb Fish, from Michigan State's at 57. Cameron Amines at 165. And Dean Hamady Jr. is at 174 out of Wisconsin. You had those three guys there, so yeah, there wasn't 365 pounders. You now got the middle of your line at 57, 65, 74. All move-ins, all past All-Americans. Well, two of them are past All-Americans. Hamady's a two-timer and Amines a three-timer. And three-time qualifier is Caleb, or is Fish, as a three-time qualifier for the national tournament. And then you get the big heavyweight who has one more year remaining. Air Force gave him a leave of absence so he could go chase his dream one more time. And White Henderson comes in at heavyweight. So there's no doubt bringing those guys in. And he's a three-time All-American in his own right. Or a two-timer, I guess, excuse me. So you add those to what OSU has coming back. And the mix has just been wonderful. There's still, again, 133. We've had a veteran in Reese Whitcraft who has ascended to the top, battling Cale Hughes from Stillwater High School, another Stillwater kid that, again, has great promise. And we've seen him this year already. But 33, it looks like Whitcraft for the moment has been the guy. And then we had a returning 157-pounder in Teague Travis. He gets injured. Think he's only going to be out maybe a couple of 3 weeks, but it turns out he's probably going to be out the whole year with his injury. And that's when you bring Fish out of red shirt and put him in the lineup. So the Cowboys, their lineup is pretty much set right now. And Casey, the thing about it is just the fact that from the start of the season, and I mentioned to a guy yesterday, since the season started, I don't think I've seen one of these guys take a deep breath even.
Yeah.
They are in such great shape.
Yeah.
And they also seem to have
aggressive too.
Yeah, game plan.
Like you're like, oh, we just need defense for 30. So next thing you know, hell, they're getting another 3-point takedown.
Oh yeah,
right.
right. They wrestle 7 minutes and they're chasing points all the time.
Yeah.
They're never satisfied. Whatever points on the board,
they win the scrambles too, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I'd say the bonus points, that's the difference. You know, we just talked about the tournament powerhouses like Penn State. OSU lost the Big 12 last year because Iowa State scored 26 bonus points and the Cowboys scored like 8 or whatever it was. I don't remember the exact number. But that bonus point situation is huge. This team is scoring bonus points. Every opportunity they've got a chance to do it, they are chasing those bonus points in a major attack or going after the fall at the very end, whatever it may be. And that's why you see the consistency. Look at the scores of all the duels this year.
Yeah.
Scored over 30 points every duel, have not given up double digits in any duel this year. 35-9 or whatever it was last night. I mean, that's been kind of those standard rule. And even the guys that lose wrestle well. You know, there's not a guy, you know, we got a guy that got caught on his back last night by a defending national champion. Those things are going to happen.
Yes.
But you don't feel like anybody is wrestling bad. Occasionally somebody gets beat. That happens. But you just don't you feel like every man, they've just been so consistent. That's been the thing, man. Every duel, the Las Vegas tournament, for the couple of days of that, these guys just go out and they consistently give you a great effort. They wrestle 7 minutes, and they're not satisfied. Even if they win, they want bonus points. They're doing all the extra things to make that happen, which is why they are where they are.
Yeah. Boy, Spratley got to start it off right last night. It was like 3 versus 4, so it was a big matchup, and just very impressed with the way that he was able to handle that match, the way he's a little bit able to do a little bit of everything, work on his feet, the way he's able to ride just enough to make that match go his way. So really kind of made that look a lot easier than it should have been to start the night off.
Oh, yeah. Well, those first 3 matches, I don't know. You know, you just look at them on paper, you're thinking, boy, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, man, you just go out there.
He just crunched Ventresca, though. I mean, it was just like no match. It was crazy.
Yeah. Tech fall.
Yeah.
And then our major decision, I'm sorry, let's say he had a major 10-1. Spratley did. But, look how he's raised his game. I mean, he already,
major decision.
They knew they had something with him last year. And with Tegan Jamison. Both of those kids came in from Minnesota after a year there. And they both they're special kids. If they stay on the right track, they're going to be All-Americans, and they're going to be big-time contributors here in Oklahoma. Already are. We're seeing them step up their game. They're number 3 and number 4 in the nation right now, those 2 guys. And again, everybody's raising their level, the guys that have returned. Plotz just continues to be Mr. Consistency regardless. But then you throw in those newcomers into the mix, and again, David Taylor, he is just. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know him. I'd called some of his matches in the past, and I knew his reputation, and I'd seen him on the world stage and some of the great things he's done. But he and his staff, Jimmy Kennedy and those guys, and Thomas Gilman, and they, I don't know what I expected, really. I think I expected really intense kind of individuals, but they're like you and me.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they're better wrestlers than you and me, but in the big scheme of things, they're just dudes.
Until you get in a fight, don't ever mess with wrestlers.
Yeah, they are just, again, very laid back, easy going kind of guys off the bat.
Yeah.
But obviously, they're getting their point across in practice. They're getting their message across. Those guys are responding. But it has that the team and the way they go about their business has a very relaxed family kind of feel to it, whatever cliche you want to use. The wrestlers seem to be comfortable. They got a smile on their faces. They go to work.
Bought in.
They work hard, and they are pulling for each other. There's something special happening. So I'm not going to put a limit on what they might be able to accomplish.
Yeah.
And but boy, they've got everybody excited around here, no doubt. And most excitement I've found around here around the wrestling program in a while.
Talk about excitement. I'm not going to lie. I thought Serber was toast in the sudden victory overtime. When Smith shot in, and I mean, of course, I don't know a whole lot about wrestling, so I'm not exactly like, I can't look at it and go, okay, no, actually Serber doesn't look good, but he's in a good spot. But to me, my novice eye, I was like, oh my God, because, sudden victory, the first one to score wins.
Yeah.
And then he comes out of that scramble and he's on top, and it's like, wow, that was exciting, wasn't it?
That was exciting. And that's something you can't coach.
Right.
Scrambling, you can't coach.
Yeah, right. I
You
agree.
just throw the athletes out there, and you can coach a lot of things in technique. But the ability to scramble, come out of those sick, awkward, weird, ugly situations and always seemingly come out on top of them. Again, we've had great ones around here who have that awesome ability. The great ones all have that ability, really, to be able to come out of scrambles, because there's, again, it's just really no way to practice it. It's like practicing a foul tip as a catcher in baseball. You can't really practice catching those. You either do or you don't. And some are much better than others. So
despite what Joe Garagiola says, you can't practice catching foul tips.
You can't practice it. That's right. So, and I'm just, again, Serber's match, I'm with you. Well, the fact he got in overtime. This is another guy who beat him all year. Yeah. And he was in trouble there toward the end of the match. He kind of felt like he was playing more defense than offense at that point as Smith came after him.
I agree.
They got in overtime.
The last 30 seconds,
Yeah, Smith gets right to his legs. You go, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm calling the match, but I'm thinking, and he was in, dead to rights maybe 2 or 3 times in that scramble where he was laying almost on his back and looking back at the crowd and hanging on to an ankle. You're thinking, just kept wrestling. Yeah, what do you do? Well, you just keep fighting. You keep wrestling. And eventually, hey, look what I got here. All of a sudden, he got his leg free, slips out the back door, and here we go. And he has the takedown and gets the win in overtime to the delight of the crowd. And I mean, that's what it's all about, man. There were so many matches that should have been tight, and that one was. But there's a lot of instances where matches we thought would be down to the wire, 74-25. That's the other thing. I'm talking about being consistent. You know what you're going to get from Dean. He's going to come out. When they blow the whistle, by golly, you better be ready, because he's coming. And he's been that way from the get-go. He's had one close match, and he showed, well, I got to ride a guy out to win a match in Vegas. I'll do that. And he did to win the championship. But if you give him a little opening, he's coming, he's scoring, and he's going to score until they blow the final buzzer.
He sure is.
Yeah, and he is.
Cut, takedown, cut, takedown. It's fun to watch.
He is special. Yeah, he's got the whole arsenal. But he also showed to be the top guy, and I need to ride him out for 2 minutes. I can do that too. So there's not really a hole in his game. Cameron Amin, I know that he would like to be scoring more points. He's frustrated, but he continues to win, which is the good thing. And he'll get it figured out. But like I say, he's done a solid job there. Hamady has been unbelievable. And, of course, the heavyweight, what can you say? Get a backflip and a salute at the end of the duel from the big man. And he is such a, again, giving all the coaches the credit, and rightly so. But I think when you look, in any sport, Casey, your top guys, kind of the top of the food chain, kind of set the tempo for the rest of the team.
Mm-hmm. No
and
doubt.
when you look up at guys like Wyatt Hendrickson and Cameron Amin and Dean Hamady and Dustin Plott, you've got solid, big-time student athletes who do things the right way every day and lead the way. No shenanigans. They're working hard every day, and it just trickles down.
Yeah, it does.
I think the fact that, again, the coach and give Taylor and his crew all the credit in the world, but it's also those kids. This is a dream group of student athletes on this team and the guys they brought in, again, they brought in quality individuals, not just quality wrestlers, and it just seems to feed through the ranks of the entire program.
It does. Hey, Rex, I appreciate your comments on the wrestling. For those of you watching this, we're going to talk about the baseball for a little bit. As promised, we have Rex Holt back in, the Hall of Fame broadcaster for the Oklahoma State Cowboys, who has been doing play-by-play for Oklahoma State baseball for over 40 years. And I think, like, in the last 90 years, Oklahoma State's had all of 2 play-by-play guys,
well,
right?
It's over 80 anyway, right
over
at
80? Yeah.
Probably. Seems like to me, this seems like Bill was 38 years, I think, when I joined him in the booth before he stepped away. And then I'm going on my 42nd year. So it's right at 80 years and 2 broadcasters at this point. Yeah.
Congratulations, Rex. Awesome. Awesome.
You got to live a long time to make that happen, okay?
Okay, so let's dive into some of the baseball programs. So obviously you have the beautiful O'Brate Stadium. You've lost 3 regionals at home here as of late. And so there's Oklahoma State fans that are frustrated with that. What would be your message for those people that were good enough to win the Big 12 championship, good enough to host a regional, but that sometimes baseball happens? What would be your message to them?
Well, that probably would be it. I mean, I know they're frustrated, and it's kind of like wrestling, which we talked about earlier, but there's certain expectations for certain programs here that are just a little bit, even football. The expectation is not with football like it is with baseball. You're supposed to go to Omaha. These fans believe that, and it was a birthright for a while. But they feel like this program, and then with this new stadium, well, the path to Omaha should run through Stillwater. Well, that's part of it has happened. OSU's been doing their thing. But as you said, my message to those people would be, we are winning Big 12 championships.
Yes.
We are, again, hosting regionals. We're doing everything you would want to do. Again, everybody's frustrated that you haven't quite gotten over the hump of late since 2016, and that was on the road, that to go through your home park and go on to Omaha and challenge for a national championship. Everybody wants that. Everybody is fighting for that every day of their lives, working to try to make that happen. But the fact that you are going winning Big 12 titles, that you're hosting regionals and all of those things tell you that you are on the right track. You're recruiting good people.
I agree.
You're coaching them up. You're getting them to that position. And then Casey just comes down to, who knows, one pitch, one hit, whatever it is. And again, a couple of teams that got hot. We got a hot Arkansas team one year. Florida, again, kind of hit their stride after we'd already beat them and put them in the loser's bracket. They came out, but there was a situation in that game where you thought the Cowboys were getting ready to put them away. They made a couple of big defensive plays. Next thing, one of their big donkeys hits one out of the ballpark, and there you go. And, you can't ask for any more than the pitching we got last year. You think back to Arkansas and Campbell on the mound, our ace on the mound and a lead, and you couldn't close it. So I think it's hard to start pointing fingers at that point.
And coaches, certainly. I mean,
right.
They've put him in that position. It's all you can do.
Well, that's what I mean. You got a lead. You're at home. You got Justin Campbell on the mound.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you ask for?
That. Everybody would dream for that to happen.
You got all your pitching left last year and you're in the catbird seat. I mean, that's all you can ask for.
Well, again, those 2 guys last year, those newcomers on the mound who wound up kind of just. Again, that doesn't happen every year, Case, as you know.
Right.
We've always had new guys come in, and some of them have had more hype than others. But with those 2 guys last year were as consistent as we've ever had here, start to finish, and it all starts with pitching. We all know that. but you got to have enough offense to take advantage of the opportunities you're given. And again, it just hasn't happened. And I'm as frustrated as anybody out there.
Absolutely.
I want to win just as much as everybody else does. But the things that you're doing leading up to that moment are telling you you're on the right track and you're doing the right things, and the program is in great shape. But a couple of trips to Omaha will, of course, cure all of that. And hopefully this could be in the year that the Cowboys get over the hump, break through, and we try it again.
Yeah. That's all you can do, man. Just keep putting your kids in front of the best instruction. And I try to explain this to Oklahoma State baseball fans. I mean, if you look at just the assistants that Coach Holliday's hired, going all the way back to Marty Lees, who is an elite assistant coach, James Valade, Justin Seeley, Matt Holliday, Robin Ventura, and then you've had, obviously, Rob Walton, who shaped the best pitching staff in the Big 12 last year. You can't put your kids these kids at Oklahoma State have been put in front of the best assistant coaches and best baseball instruction, not just college baseball has to offer, but all of baseball has to offer.
Yeah, well, no doubt. And there's just, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. I'm with you. Again, we've had some coaches move on, but they've been able, again, the coaching staff, there's no problem there. And I like what they've done with the guys they've brought in, former Cowboys they've kept in the loop and all of that.
Absolutely.
And they've got, like I say, they got everything in place. Again, there's some other schools out there, yeah, we're living it right now, where schools have more money than you do. They can buy more players than you can buy, or more expensive players. But OSU is still the marketplace they showed last year. They know how to go find guys.
Absolutely.
They know how to go find winners and guys that fit in your program. Again, those pitchers, a shortstop from a year ago, and all those things, they know how to do. And again, their relationship with the players in the Cape Cod League and all of that over the years, they've nurtured all those relationships. OSU's got a good reputation. Mm-hmm. And if you come here, they're going to make you better. You're going to get to play in front of great crowds in the best stadium in America, and you're going to have a chance to go to Omaha, maybe play for a national championship. All of that is still there and in place. And I've been over there, during the fall, and just saw some of the practices and this and that, and visiting with the guys. And you just feel like they're as optimistic over there and as enthusiastic about the season as they've ever been.
Yep.
They feel like, again, they put another group together.
They have.
That'll have a chance to make a run.
They have, absolutely. And starting with all the returners that come back, you have all three catchers. I think it was big to get Aiden Miola back. You have Avery Ortiz coming back. Colin Briggeman comes back. Then obviously the headliners, Nolan Schubert. You have guys like Colin Ritchie, and you got Kate Davis on the bump, Ryan Urey. You've got guys like Sean Youngerman coming in that are very good arms. You got Drew Blake in the bullpen, who's another nice left-handed arm. So kind of talk about some of the veterans and how they're going to mix with some of the new guys.
Well, yeah. And just like we were, talking earlier about athletes, they have a great year, but maybe they struggle at the end or whatever, and then they come back. Well, you hope they learn their lessons and they're going to take their game to that next level. And that's what you always hope. Some of these pitchers, we've seen them, and we've seen them do some good things. But we need them to take that next step.
Yeah, we do.
Those guys. And again, with the newcomers, we don't know yet. Again, I've been fooled before. There's been certain guys come in and, I heard all the hype and, he's throwing 100 miles an hour and whatever. And then you get into the season and maybe he's okay. Maybe he's struggling getting people out. And so you never know how this whole thing's going to play out. But as far as quality arms and the number of them they've got, I trust Rob Walton and company to find a core group of guys that are going to be able to do it and do it when it matters most. Again, they're going to build a bullpen out of that group. They'll have a starting rotation. And, there's some familiar names there of guys that we need just to take that next little step. But, Case, I don't know. Back in the day, somebody threw 95 miles an hour was a freak of nature.
Absolutely.
And now everybody throws 95. And, of course, that's why we see all the arm injuries. That's a story for another day. But, again, there's no shortage of talent. And, again, it seemed like we got a little more left-right balance than maybe we had a year ago also with that group. but you got to find an everyday shortstop, and you got to find some things, the new center fielder every day. But as just being over there, I feel like they've got candidates at every position, and then you got the big guy like Nolan Schubert coming back to kind of build around everything, and catchers back that you can trust, and a second baseman who emerged a year ago, and a couple of corner infielders that you feel very good about also as far as the returnees. So it's a heck of a nucleus. It looks like they filled all the holes again. But who's going to be where, I don't know. I think it's going to be a work in progress a little bit early on. It
always is.
See a lot of kids get a lot of opportunities, but you know the talent is there. And that's just the thing about it. Watching these guys hit the ball and run the bases and see these guys on the mound, and you just think, boy, if they can harness this talent and, like I say, come up with the core group and nothing to say, some of these guys who struggle early may not come on toward the end of the year or whatever, but I really like the talent top to bottom. It doesn't appear there's a weakness. They got guys who've got speed, great arms, whatever the case may be. And anyway, got those things like an everyday shortstop and a leadoff man, and some of those things, and protection around Schubert there in the middle of the lineup. But they got Colin Ritchie. There's a lot of guys back who we just got a little taste of what they might be. And if they take their game to the next level, there's no doubt this could be a special year.
So you said you've been to a couple of practices. It's always very difficult in the fall because they don't have names on their jerseys, and there's no roster to know exactly who the new guys are. So it's sometimes difficult to know the names with the faces. But are there any of the youngsters that stuck out to you that you might know the names of that we need to look out for, or is it just more just kind of an overall style?
Well, yeah, and of course, me and names at this point, maybe particularly some of the new guys. But again, I can tell you there's center fielder out of Eden, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. He's and again there's 2 or 3 guys that could have gone professional that we got through the draft and got them to Stillwater. So I think there's no doubt the new shortstop, it could be a freshman. Got a kid, the kid that's working in there, but there's a JUCO kid also that's right there who's, again, they both look more than capable. I think it'll come down to who's going to be able to swing the bat the best and get on base the most when that's all done. Like I say, I think we'll have familiar people in first and third when it's all said and done with some of the returnees and Miola and some of those guys we're going to have back. And then behind the plate, I think we've been as good a shape behind the plate as we've been in years, as we've got a couple of 3 guys there that can handle everything back there. And I think offensively, those guys will be in good shape too. Again, Avery there at second base, you like him. And like I say, you got Schubert, maybe Ritchie in the outfield, and maybe a new center fielder. But like I say, I know there's a freshman shortstop I really liked. I can't think of his name as we sat here and talk.
Brock Thompson?
Yeah. And then
Garrett Scholl's the kid from Enid. He's good too.
Sure. Yeah. He is. I don't know what was expected. I was thinking maybe I don't know.
Well, he played for Brad Gore, so expect a lot because Brad knows what he's doing.
About, I heard how he ran, and then I saw him. He looks like a bodybuilder, kind of. Yeah. I was thinking more of a Brian Ayler, kind of a gazelle type guy, and then he shows up like, wow. That dude, he looked like Cam Scattaboo from Arizona State or something. And the running back. So, but there were some kids that jumped out at me, no doubt. But I get to see enough of all of them. But they're out. They're going to compete, and I have no doubts that. And it wouldn't surprise me. There's always surprises, guys that you really don't know. And maybe they get off to a slow start, or maybe they get and the next thing you know, they get an opportunity, and here they are, and then they're an everyday player. And we see it happen every year. And those guys are probably the guys that are going to be either make or break your season. Who are those guys?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, bunch of new names, man.
Right, from every walk of life, again, as far as the grades and where they come from, or the JUCOs or whatever, transfers. There's going to be a couple of 3 or 4 guys that right now we're not talking about at all that are going to wind up being key cogs in this whole thing. And anyway, it's always fun to watch it all play out, no doubt, once we get in and start playing real games. And looking forward to that.
I think it has to start, like you said, with the guys coming back, the Avery Ortizes, the Aiden Miolas, the three catchers, Colin Brighamman, Nolan Schubert, Colin Ritchie, and then Gabe Davis. Gabe has to step it up. And probably, I don't know if he's going to be a starter reliever. I would imagine starter to begin with. Ryan Ure, Drew Blake, Brennan Phillips. Start with those guys. Make those guys the anchors, and then let the Garrett Scholes kind of work around that. And worked kind of like the guys last year let Colin Ritchie work them way in. And Avery Ortiz didn't have to be a stud from day one, right? So kind of that similar type setup to where those guys allow the new guys to incorporate in.
Well, if you just brought in two guys, it just said, is this what you want? If you looked at a Gabe Davis and a Ryan Ure.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, yes. That's what you dream about, getting players of that stature and those type of athletes and their ability. Those two guys could be the two best pitchers in America. I have no doubts about it. Now, will they? I don't know.
They have as much talent, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. They've got everything going for them. And, just everything about them screams superstar and NFL, or excuse me, Major League Baseball draft picks. Everything about them screams that. We just need them to be that. Maybe not the finished product, but closer to it. And hopefully, let's just say, take those two guys. If they played at their potential, pitched at their potential, well, OSU could be, we could be talking about them like Vanderbilt a few years ago with the 1-2 punch they had.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to see Conover out of Tuttle, too.
Yeah.
Got to see him quite a bit in high school. He is a good player. He is the exact type of just athlete, just good ball player that I think Josh can maximize, and the entire staff for that matter. So, hey, this has been a wonderful conversation. If you haven't checked out our conversation about the wrestling squad, go back and check that out. That's been archived. But, hey, Rex Holt, it's always an honor when I get to speak with you about anything, certainly when it's about baseball with your Hall of Fame career behind the mic, of your 42 years. Is that right, Rex?
This will be number 42. Yeah, it was my 40th year of wrestling, 42nd year of baseball.
So 40 times 60, that's about 2,400 games you broadcasted, plus the playoffs. So let's say 2,700 games. I'd say maybe I've listened to all but about 2 of them on the radio.
Well, bless your heart, my friend. And I apologize, man. I've been battling the crud for a month now. I was sick, and then I got over that, I thought. But the drainage and the residue and all that, I've been battling that for a while now. So I apologize to that for the folks that had to listen to me cough and hack my way through this. But hopefully, after a little holiday break, I'll be as good as new and ready to hit the ground running with a little Cowboy Wrestling on January the 3rd. And then, of course, blink your eye. It's going to be baseball season in February, and here we go.
Wait, let's go, baby.
Yeah, no doubt.
Rex, I am so ready for Cowboy baseball.
Yeah. We're going to be playing good people from the get-go, so we're going to find out some things early. But, Case, always a pleasure. Happy holidays to you, my friend, and your family, and we'll see you on the other side.